trade recap. And today we are continuing the losing streak with another loss. And here's the trade. So I'm just going to go over it here, starting on the daily because that is where the higher time frame context is. So yesterday we came into this daily fair value gap here, and we respected it by this candle, but we had no news yesterday, so we didn't have the volatility to push higher from that fair value gap just yet. But today we have CPI that could definitely make us push higher. Looking at the 4-hour, we can see that we were encountering resistance here in the form of this 4-hour bearish fair value gap, which got disrespected, but then we came up to this overlapping defense, this 4-hour order block here, and we rejected off of that, preventing this 4-hour fair value gap, 4-hour bullish fair value gap from being created, indicating to me that we might want to sweep liquidity a little bit lower, potentially even take out the previous day low as well, because yesterday we did not have any news. So CPI could potentially do something like this to then continue higher, was my idea. On the 1-hour, we can see here that we came in and rejected this area here, and we swept then on the 4-hour, which was the previous candle high, beautiful, and we then displaced lower. We had not yet created that 1-hour fair value gap, but we had a lot of fair value gaps here on the 15 minutes. We had 3. Let me remove that for now, and let me also clear up these lines. So we displaced lower, and we took out my first drawn liquidity, which was this weak low. Unfortunately, we did not deliver an entry opportunity to target that low, but that was the low hanging fruit for me. And that is simply because you can see here we had this 1-hour bullish fair value gap that we stuck into. We pushed higher from it, but we never followed through and created a new one. And then we had the previous candle sweep on the 4-hour and this sweep here on the 1-hour to then continue lower, taking this weak low as the first drawn liquidity. So then this now becomes the overall fair value area in my eyes, where we had the buy side, sell side, buy side. So here my thought process was that price could come here and retrace, should not retrace a lot further than this, to then continue lower. So when price first stung into this fair value gap, 50-minute value gap, we did not get an entry. Then price stung into the fair value area here as well, and then that created the ST, the fair value gap in here, huge moves in, to then fair value gaps out, which I entered on, covering the high here, targeting the previous day low. But I was going to scale out and take profits at this low as well, because you never know on CPI day. CPI days could do whatever the fuck they want, which we can see here it is doing. But then also, if I look back at this, at that moment in time we had just created the 1-hour fair value gap, I think. I think it got created right when I got my entry, but that doesn't matter that much, because still, for price to make, well, it's easy to see now in hindsight, but at the moment when we had this fair value gap and we were already down here, we closed like this, we had the first target here, and then here also here. It is pretty unreal. Un. It just feels kind of, how can I say this? Weird for price to push up all the way here to then continue lower when we are already close to the draw. Then instead waste volatility, waste power, waste energy to come all the way up into this fair value gap to then push lower and take out these lows, when we instead, we already was here at the bottom here. We could just come down here and save a lot of power, save a lot of energy, and use that in the move up later today if that is what price wants to do. So that was kind of weird in my eyes, kind of strange. But overall, I am not disappointed in this trade. I did think this setup was valid, but sometimes it just doesn't play out. Of course, we had the 1 hour value gap above that I mentioned, which makes the setup overall a little bit lower probability. Minimize, this was a breakaway gap, so not really much to do about it now. Also, I am in a pretty hefty losing streak, but I'm lowering my risk a lot, so I don't lose more than necessary when I am performing this bad. So yeah, this was the trade.